Shalom, 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 my brothers and sisters of the nation of Israel, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, the Israelites that the Bible speaks of, who have been scattered worldwide due to our disobedience of serving Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. And I'm your brother Ananias for A.O.I, the Awakening of Israel. And as always, it's an honor and a privilege to come before you to give you another edifying and uplifting lesson with hopes and regards of building up our nation of people. And before we get started, we want to give all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Yahweh being the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shai being his son, who the world calls Christ in the Paleo-Hebrew. And through his strength, sacrifice, and example, we are all able to be here today to be uplifted in the spirit. So we appreciate all you brothers and sisters tuning in and those who will tune in. You know what I'm saying? But just want to give a shout out to everybody who's enduring in this truth. Keep doing what you do, you know what I'm saying, and continue to strive to become better every day. Learn more, do better each and every day. You know what I'm saying? Also, for those who are new to this truth, understand it's not going to be a cakewalk. It's something new to you. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be rearranging your lives and learning new things. You have to become as new babes into this truth. You know, you have to renew your mind. You have to learn constantly, day in and day out. So it won't be something that you're just going to be able to pick up the book and read in one day and get all the knowledge that you think that you will have or need. It's going to be a daily growth or a continuous cycle where each and every day you will continue to grow. Just pray daily and ask for the Most High to continue to build you up with more knowledge, wisdom, and discernment. All right. So we're going to get into it. Today's class or topic is called Keep the Feast. What is the Passover and how to keep it? What is the Passover and how to keep it? Because being a repentant Israelite or coming into this truth, as we always love to say, you have to understand all things. As it says in Sirach 5 and 15, in the Apocrypha or the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 5, verse 15, you don't want to be ignorant. I'm paraphrasing, but the Lord said, don't be ignorant of a small thing or a great thing. So with that being said, we know it's coming into this truth that we have to put off the ways of this world. We don't want to learn and continue in the ways of the heathen or in the ways of the oppressor, you know. So we have to learn constantly as to what is our history. You know what I'm saying? What's actually going on. So today we're going to be dealing with what is the Passover. Because when we were in the world, we knew everything about Christmas, Thanksgiving, 4th of July, New Year's, birthdays, what else? Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, Memorial Day, Labor Day. We knew about all these different holidays, so they say. But we never knew how vain they were or what history they had, or ever thought about what it actually meant regarding us as a nation of people. But when we open the Bible and read, and when the Lord has removed those scales from our eyes, allowing us to see the truth and hear it, we understand that we have a history. And it doesn't just start in slavery, but we have a history, and it's found where? In the Bible. Our history as Israelites is found in the Bible. It's not in your enemy's history books. They're going to give you a slighted version of your history. Our history, our heritage, our legacy is written within the Bible. And everybody has our history in the household. Doesn't matter where they are in the world, but everybody has our history. It's just that we as Israelites have been stripped of our heritage, not understanding truly who we are, what we are supposed to be doing. And we're going to figure out, we're going to go to Deuteronomy 32:26 right quick. Because we got to ask ourselves, why is it that we have to do classes to even explain what Passover is? Why is it that we don't already know as a nation of people? Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32, verse 26, and it reads, I said, I will scatter them into corners. I will make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. This is the Lord speaking through Moses about his people, his chosen, his elect, the nation of Israel. Because of our disobedience, he said he would scatter us into corners, meaning the four corners of the earth, north, south, east, and west. All around the world, he would scatter us and would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. So not only would our name be cease to exist by us not knowing who we were, naturally our feast days, the things that we actually did in times past to celebrate our deliverance, our good times, was stripped from us or it ceased to exist. Let's go to Lamentations chapter 2 right quick, just to furthermore prove what the Lord actually did to us for us being rebellious as a nation of people. Let's go to the book of Lamentations chapter 2 verse 5. And it reads, the Lord was an enemy. He hath swallowed up Israel. He hath swallowed up all her palaces. He has destroyed his strongholds and have increased in the daughter of Judah mourning and lamentation. You see that going on today. Increased mourning among the children of Judah or the children of Israel, especially the daughter of Judah. Those would be your so-called African Americans or your Negroes, blacks. We have increased in mourning. Every time you turn on the TV, you see what? Mourning. You see our brothers and sisters gunning each other down day in and day out. Excuse me. He has increased mourning within the daughter of Judah. Verse 6. And he had violently taken away his tabernacle, as if it were of a garden. He have destroyed his places of the assembly. The Lord have caused the solemn feast and Sabbaths to be forgotten in Zion, and have despised in the indignation of his anger the king and the priest. So the Lord has violently taken away his tabernacle. His temple that was built in honor of him, he destroyed it because of our wickedness, because of our rebelliousness as a nation of people, not wanting to follow the law, statutes, and commandments, wanting to go off into idolatry, wanting to serve other gods, wanting to be just like the other nations, being envious and jealous of the other nations who are beneath us, but for some odd reason, we envy them and want to be just like them, as it is this day. So the Lord has violently taken away his tabernacle. He sent the other nations, the other armies, to come and capture us. In the process of doing that, he told them or had them to destroy his temple, as if it were of a garden. Now, if you know anything about gardening, you know every year you got to come out there and break that ground up. You got to remove the things that used to be there to put something else there. That's exactly what the Lord did. He removed us. Well, I'm going to go back. The Lord removed the other nations out of that land first, so that we could be there. His prize plant, his vineyard. He put us in there. Israel is the Lord's vineyard. Then when we didn't want to do what we were supposed to, guess what he did? He removed us out of his garden. He have destroyed his places of the assembly. The Lord have caused a solemn feast and Sabbaths to be forgotten in Zion. Our people don't have anything about, or they have no idea what the solemn feast of Israel are. Ask the average so-called black or Hispanic or Native American man, do you know about the Feast of Purim? Do you know about the Feast of Dedication, the Feast of Tabernacles, Feast of First Fruits? They ain't going to be able to give you an answer. They're going to look at you with the crazy face. You know what I'm saying? With the dumb look. They ain't going to understand what you're talking about. It's a foreign language to them. But it was our history that was given to us. It was part of our heritage. But the Lord, due to our rebelliousness, the Lord has stripped us of our heritage, and he did it violently and caused the solemn feast and the Sabbath days to be forgotten in Zion. That's why majority of our people, when you say, what is the Sabbath? They have no idea. They telling you that it's Sunday, or that this is my Sabbath. My Sabbath is this day or that day. You see that? We have forgotten who we are, and the Lord has stripped us of our solemn feasts and Sabbath, caused them to be forgotten, and have despised in the indignation of his anger the king and the priest. Same thing. That's why we don't have any kings. We don't have any priests. We only have what our enemy has given us in these last days. Now we are coming back to this reality, or into this truth. We realizing that the Lord has blessed us and woke us up. So now we got to take advantage during this grace period to get right, to get our minds back, to go back, to dig and find our history and start living out life how we were designed to live it. But I'm going to keep reading. Let's go to verse 7. And the Lord has cast off his altar. He have abhorred his sanctuary. He have given up into the hand of the enemy the walls of her palaces. They have made a noise in the house of the Lord, as in the day of the solemn feast. So, who over in our land right now? Our enemies. He has given our land, our sanctuary, over into their hands, and they in our temples, making a noise and feasting, claiming to be us. The Lord put it right here, plain, black and white. The Lord have cast off his altar. He have abhorred, meaning hated his sanctuary. He have given up into the hand of the enemy the walls of her palaces. So the Lord is letting you know in the very beginning, in the Old Testament, that he gave up our land, his palace, or his temple. He gave those things over to the enemy. And they in claiming to be us, making feast noise. Verse 8. The Lord had purposed to destroy the wall of the daughter of Zion. He have stretched out a line. He have not withdrawn his hand from destroying. Therefore, he made the rampart and the wall to lament. They languished together. The land was mourning when we were there going off, and his land is mourning now that we're not there. Why? Because we were going off. We were out of order, as it states in Psalms 82, 5 and 6. You know, we out of order. We don't know what we doing. Verse 9. It said, her gates are sunk into the ground. He have destroyed and broken her bars. Her kings and her princes are among the Gentiles. The law is no more. Her prophets also find no vision from the Lord. You see that? Our gates, our land sunk into the ground. The Lord has destroyed us. Our strength, destroyed her bars, her protection. He took away that hedge of protection, just like you put around your garden. You put that fence up, that wire fence and whatever, to keep the other animals out, the other beasts out, the insects out. But the Lord has removed that hedge of protection from around us. You see that? Now we are among the Gentiles, scattered worldwide in the four corners, among the Gentiles. And the law is no more. That's why they teach you in the churches that God's laws are done away with. Think about it. That's why we got to do this class, to teach our brothers and sisters that Passover is real, and that's something that we have to do as repentant Israelites. Part of repentance is coming back to doing the things that we were supposed to be doing. Turn from your wicked ways and start living a righteous life. Not according to what these churches tell you, or what these wicked pastors and deacons and preachers tell you, but thus saith the Lord. That's our job, to teach you, thus saith the Lord. You understand? But from there, let's go to Lamentations 5 and 2 right quick. Lamentations chapter 5, verse 2. And it reads, our inheritance is turned to strangers, our houses to aliens. So our inheritance, meaning our land, our language, the way that we dress, the feast days, everything that we had has been turned to the strangers. Our houses to aliens. Everything has been given to these individuals, people that don't belong in that land. That's where alien actually goes into foreigners in that land. Strangers. Everything that we had has been taken and given to our enemies. And we on the outside looking in, and we claiming them to be us. That's ridiculous when you actually sit back and think about it. We on the outside of our land looking at somebody else who took us out of our land. They put themselves in there. They put us in captivity. Now we looking back at them like, wow, those are God's chosen people. Wow. See how they thrive? No, that's wicked as hell. That's backwards. That's letting you know how out of order this world is. The fact that we on the outside looking in, when we are the greatest people on this earth, and we all know it, even they know it. But we on the outside looking in on our own house, on our own land. And why did that happen? Because the Lord did that due to our rebelliousness as a nation of people. That was part of the curses that you can read in Deuteronomy 28, 15 through 68. Or the book of Leviticus chapter 26, 15 on out. talking about our rebelliousness and the curses that would be put upon the Israelites, the nation of Israel, for being rebellious to the Lord, to the Most High. Let's go to the book of Job right quick. The book of Job, chapter 8, verse 8. Because this is part of our process as repentance, repentant Israelites. This is what we got to do. It says, for I require, or I inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of thy father, Salaki. So we got to search out the things of old times, of yesteryear, as they say. Because that's where we're going to find our history, find out what we were supposed to be doing. That's why we're doing this class, to teach you what Passover is, what it's all about, and how to keep it. The things to do and not to do during Passover. You see? And how do we find these things out? By searching out the former age, by going back and doing research, looking through the scriptures, connecting the dots, the precepts. That's why we do what we do. All right. So now we're going to go into what is Passover. What is it? What does it represent? Well, let's start off with something basic. Let's go to the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. Make sure that's on the screen. The Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. All right, let's go inside. Now, to find the definition, you got to go to feast on page 173. Now, we're going to scroll down. And it reads, feast were the sacred festivals of Judaism, which were occasions of public worship. There were 7 in all. It's actually more than 7, but this is what they have written in this book. It says the Passover, or Feast of Unleavened Bread, was established before the giving of the law to celebrate the exodus from Egypt. Now, one thing I want you to pay attention to is the simple fact that it says the Passover, or Feast of Unleavened Bread. So you'll read that in the New Testament. It'll say, now the Feast of Unleavened Bread was on the wise, letting you know at that particular time that it was the Passover was approaching. Another name for Passover is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So jot that down, let that stick in your memory to let you know when you read the scriptures and you see Passover, it's also referring to Feast of Unleavened Bread. All right. Now, I said it was established before the giving of the law to celebrate the exodus from Egypt. It began on the 14th day of Nisan and continued for a week. Attendance was required of all male Jews. Deuteronomy 16:16. All right. Now we'll get to this while breaking it down. We're going to go into what is Passover, what it represents, when is it celebrated, where is it celebrated, how to celebrate it, and the do's and the don'ts. But I just want to bring this out right quick, showing you in the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary that the definition of Passover is what we just read. Sacred festival. And it was called the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And it was given to us to celebrate before the giving of the law, so they say. But the law has already been established since the beginning of time. But we're going to push on from there. Let's go to the etymology. If you don't know anything about this website, it's called Etymology Online. You can go there to get the meaning of words. And it's very helpful in your search and in your quest to unlocking your history, Israel. So you got to use, not abuse, but the resources that are available to you to get the true understanding as to what's going on. Like I said, this is etymologyonline.com. And we typed in Passover. So let's read through it and see what it stands for. Annual Jewish feast instituted. It's not Jewish, but that's what they add to it to throw us off. We are the true Jews, but before Jews even hit the scene, that name, that title, we were the Israelites. The children of Zion, the children of Israel. All right. Let's read it. It says, Passover is an annual Jewish feast instituted to commemorate the escape from Egypt, 1530, coined by Tyndale from verbal phrase Passover. All right. Let's see. Passover, see Pascal, in reference to the Lord, meaning passing over. the houses of the Israelites in Egypt when he killed the firstborn of the Egyptians in Exodus chapter 12. All right, so Passover is representing of the passing over. When you read the story in the book of Exodus, how the Lord told us to put the blood over the doorway, and that night, the spirit of death would the destroyer would pass over our houses and would go to the Egyptians, all right, for their firstborn. And we'll get into that later on as well. But the etymology of that word, hapesah, meaning passing over. All right. So from there, let's go to what it actually represents. Let's go to the book of Exodus. Make sure that you're paying attention and writing down the precepts as well, Israel. Don't just sit there and listen to the class and shake your head, say, yeah, that sounds good. Take down the precepts, make notes next to the side of them so that you can go back and understand what you're supposed to be doing or what Passover actually stands for. So let's go to the book of Exodus, chapter 12. We're going to go to verse 14. What does Passover represent? And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and ye shall keep a feast to the Lord throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast by ordinance forever. So just wanted to jump to this precept, even though we're going to go back and start from the beginning later on. I just wanted to let you know what it represents. It's a memorial. Each feast day that we do or celebrate is a memorial, a remembrance of times past. You know, it shall be unto you for a memorial, and ye shall keep it a feast to the Lord throughout your generations, not to ourselves, but to the Lord throughout our generations, meaning as long as we generate as a nation of people, we have to keep the feast of Passover or unleavened bread. It says, ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. Now, the ordinances goes into when you keep it, what do you do during those days, things of that nature, and the penalties for not keeping. But let's go to Deuteronomy 4 and 20. So we understand that it's a memorial. But let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 20 right quick. And it reads, why? Because the Lord have taken you and brought you forth out of the iron furnace, even out of Egypt, to be unto him a people of inheritance, as ye are this day. So we never stop being his chosen people. We will always be his chosen people. Even though the narrative in society is to tell us that we are all God's people or we're all children of God, that's not what you read in the Bible. Those are narratives that have been thrown out there, spun around to keep us all dumbed down or confused. Because your enemy will never tell you the truth. Why would they? That's like giving you the keys to the kingdom. You know what I'm saying? They don't want you to know who you are, because when you know who you are and you start doing the things that's required, that's when you take over and start running everything. They don't want you to rule. They don't want us to rule. So they will never tell us the truth. Think about that. But this particular precept right here, Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 20, is letting you know why it's a memorial. Why is it a day of remembrance? I'm going to read it again. But the Lord have taken you and brought you forth out of the iron furnace, even out of Egypt, to be unto him a people of inheritance, as ye are this day. You see that? So the Lord delivered us out of the hand of Egypt, out of the iron furnace, out of slavery, out of captivity, as he will do in the last day when he cracked that sky, when he sent his son to redeem us. You understand that? To save us. So this is what Passover is all about. That's what it represents. All right. Who is involved in it? Who it involves? Let's go to that right quick. Let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 147. Because I'm jumping all over the place. Psalms 147 right quick. Classic precept. We bring it out quite a bit when teaching. But it got more significance than just what we use it for majority of the time. Let's go to the book of Psalms 147, verse 19, and it reads, he showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgment unto Israel. You see that? He show his word, meaning his feast days, his his judgments, his ordinances, his judgments to Israel. He have not dealt so with any nation. So the other nations, they don't know anything about these things. They know by reading our book, reading our history, but he did not give it to them. And for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord. The other nations don't know his judgment. That's why they do all the wicked deeds that they do. Think about it. They don't care because they don't know the Lord. The Lord didn't choose them. He didn't give the law, statutes, and commandments to them. He gave them to his people, his chosen lineage, his inheritance, his lot, his vineyard, his chosen, his elect. Understand it. So it don't involve the other nations. So you other camps or other congregations that celebrating Passover and you got the damn enemy in the mix, you going off. He didn't show them his judgments. They are not supposed to be keeping the Passover right now. They ain't supposed to be keeping none of our feast days with us at all. He showed his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. Who is the Bible written to? Israel. Written by the prophets from where? Israel. To the brothers and sisters and children of Israel. Because the Lord God is the God of Israel. Understand that. So when is it celebrated? Let's go to Exodus. Go back to Exodus. Let's go to 23 and 15. Exodus chapter 23, verse 15. When is it celebrated? Good question. All right. Exodus chapter 23, verse 15. It says, thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread. Once again, we read that in the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, that Passover is also known as the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So it says, thou shalt keep the Feast of Unleavened Bread, Passover. Thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days as I commanded thee in the time appointed of the month of Abib. Now, when we read in the Compact Bible Dictionary, it said what? That it was kept on the 14th day of Nisan. And Abib. These are the same month. This would be the beginning of the year for us. This is when your spring actually comes into play. All right. It says, thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days as I commanded thee in the time appointed of the month of Abib. For in it thou camest out from Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty. So we understand by reading that we keep, or our nation keeps, the Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, during the month of Abib / Nisan. That would be the first month of our year, not Esau's year in January when everything's still dead, but when things is coming back to life. Spring, the beginning of spring. All right. The month of Abib. All right. So from there, where is it celebrated? Where is it celebrated? Well, hold on. Let's go back a little bit. We'll get to that in a minute. Because I know it got more involved in when, but it's a scripture I'm going to go to. I'm going to read the whole chapter, and it's going to break down everything you need to know. So where is it celebrated? Because a lot of people will say that we can't keep the feast unless we in Egypt. I mean, not Egypt, Jerusalem. I've actually seen that. A lot of people will say we can't keep the feast unless we in Jerusalem. That's foolish. That's simple. The Lord already told us in the beginning of Deuteronomy that he was going to scatter us around the world, all four corners. But he said also that we will keep the feast or keep the Passover throughout our generations forever. So how can he say keep it forever, but then he scattered us and now we can't keep it? Let's go into it then. Just to show you where that mindset might come from. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 16. Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 16. Let's get it. And it reads, 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose. Now, where did he choose to put his name? Jerusalem. In a feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, which is the first fruits, and in the feast of tabernacle, or the feast of booths, And they shall not appear before the Lord empty, meaning we had to bring offering and sacrifice. But it says 3 times a year shall all the males appear before the Lord thy God in the place where he shall choose. So that's where you read in the book of Acts, and I think it's chapter 2, when all the men came from devout Jews out of all nations under heaven. They were coming from different lands to come to Jerusalem. You know what I'm saying? To keep the feast. The main 3, especially Passover, first fruits, and tabernacle. They would appear 3 times a year before the Lord. All right. So when you read that, you'll say, well, I guess we can't keep the feast unless it's in Jerusalem. But let's go a little deeper. Let's go to Numbers chapter 1, verse 5. Go to the book of Numbers chapter 1, verse 5. Remember, take notes so that you would be more familiar with what's going on, how to stand boldly for the scriptures, for the gospel, so that you can give answer to anybody that's asking you questions. When do you keep Passover? When is it? How do I keep it? Why do I keep it? You got to be able to give an answer in these last days. That's why it's important for our brothers and sisters to study, not to lean on somebody else to do it, but to study. Not to just watch a video, but to study, to be familiar, to understand who you are and what you're supposed to be doing. All right, let's go to the book of Numbers, and we're going to start at chapter 9, verse 1. And it reads, and the Lord spake unto Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the first month of the 2nd year, after they were come out of the land of Egypt, saying, that the children of Israel also keep the Passover at his appointed season. In the 14th day of this month at even. So we understand it. The Passover is kept when? On the 14th day of the month of Bib or Nisan at even. Ye shall keep it in his appointed season, according to all the rites of it, and according to all ceremonies thereof shall ye keep it. All right, verse 4. And Moses spake unto the children of Israel. He didn't speak unto all nations, to all people on earth. He spoke unto the children of Israel. We have to get that through our head. Don't let these other nations beguile you like they did Eve in the garden and have you thinking that everybody can celebrate Passover. That's not the case. All right. And Moses spake unto the children of Israel that they should keep the Passover. And they kept the Passover on the 14th day of the first month at even, meaning when the sun went down, in the wilderness of Sinai, according to all that the Lord commanded Moses, so did the children of Israel. So what are we learning right here? We kept the Passover, in the wilderness. How long were the children of Israel in the wilderness? 40 years. 40 years. We were in the wilderness, keeping the Passover. So you got to ask yourself, did we have to be in Jerusalem in order to keep the Passover? According to that precept, no. All right, let's go to the book of Acts chapter 20. The book of Acts chapter 20, verse 6. And it reads, and we sailed away from Philippi after the days of unleavened bread, Passover, and came unto them to Troas in 5 days, where we abode 7 days. You see that? So this is Paul. Let me go back up. I'm gonna start at verse 1 and jump back down just to show you context, who actually speaking and what's going on. Acts chapter 20, verse 1. And after the uproar was ceased, Paul called unto him the disciples and embraced them and departed for to go into Macedonia. All right. Verse 5. These going before tarried for us at Troas, and we sailed away from Philippi after the days of unleavened bread, and came unto them in Troas in 5 days, where we abode 7 days. You see that? So they were not in Jerusalem when they were keeping the feast day, keeping the feast of unleavened bread, Passover. This was Paul. They were not in Jerusalem. See that? Let's go to the book of Tobit. Just to show you another thing, that another feast day that was supposed to be kept according to Deuteronomy 16:16, supposed to be kept in Jerusalem. First fruits. Let's go to the book of Tobit, chapter 1, verse 9. Excuse me. Says, furthermore, when I came to the age of a man, I married Anna of my own kindred, and of her I begat Tobias. And when we were carried away captives to Nineveh, all my brethren and those that were of my kindred did eat of the bread of the Gentiles. But I kept myself from eating, because I remembered God with all my heart. So, letting you know right now that Tobit and his family were carried away, and not only his family, but our brothers and sisters of the northern kingdom were carried away to Nineveh. This was during the Assyrian captivity. All right. So I'm going to go to chapter 2, verse 1. So they in Nineveh. All right. Tobit, chapter 2, verse 1. Now, when I was come home again, and my wife Anna was restored unto me with my son Tobias, in the feast of Pentecost, which is in the holy feast of the 7 weeks, there was a good dinner prepared me, in the which I sat down to eat. So Tobit was in the land of Nineveh, and he was there with his family, with his wife and his son, and they were doing what? Keeping the feast of Pentecost. They were in captivity, keeping the feast of Pentecost, letting you know that we can keep our feast days outside of Jerusalem. The Lord already knew that we would not be in Jerusalem. It was prophesied in the beginning that we would go into captivity. Think about that. So that's why the Lord tells us to rehearse the righteous acts that you can read about in Judges chapter 5 and 11. We got to rehearse and practice them to get back to where we were supposed to be. All right. So let's go to how to celebrate. Let's go to the book of Exodus right quick. Let's go to Exodus chapter 12. We're going to start at verse 1. And it's going to break it down and give you everything that you need concerning Passover. All right. Exodus chapter 12, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, this month shall be unto you the beginning of months. Now, we've been going over it since the beginning of this class. Ask yourself, what is the beginning of months for us? What's the beginning of the year for us? What month is it that the Lord is speaking to us about? The month of Abib and the month of Nisan. Understand that. That would be the beginning of months for us. It ain't January, February, March. That's not how we keep it according to the scripture. Those are the things that the enemy has put in place to do what? Beguile us, to confuse us. Understand that. Our months are determined by the moons. That's how we determine when a new month is coming in. Not on a number scale. Understand that. That's what separates us from them. You know? All right. But I'm going to read it again. Exodus chapter 12, verse 2. This month, meaning Abib or Nisan, shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Understand that, Israel. Speak ye unto the congregation of Israel, not all people, but Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month, they shall take to them every man a lamb according to their house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. So on the 10th day of this month, we were supposed to, when we actually had animal, you know what I'm saying, and lamb, we were supposed to take a lamb on the 10th day and separate it, all right, from the other ones. I'm going to read on. It said, and if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. All right, so that basically meaning get a lamb that will feed your household. And in verse 5, it says, your lamb shall be without blemish. Meaning it shouldn't have deformities, issues wrong with it. Without blemish, a male of the first year, ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. So you get this lamb out from among the sheep or the goats. That's a 1 year of age without blemish. And you would take him out on the 10th day from among the rest of them to separate them. All right, keep them separately, and ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, the month of Abib or Nisan. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. See that? Kill it in the evening. Now, we're not fortunate enough, majority of us are not fortunate enough to have lamb or sheep. You know what I'm saying? We got to go to the grocery store to get these things. So that's why the Lord, like, hey, you just got to rehearse the acts, because he know the situation that we in. We in a cursed state as a nation of people. There's very few brothers and sisters that are able to have lamb, sheep, or animals, period. Anything more than a cat and a dog or a fish or a turtle. But to actually have cattle, livestock, majority of our people don't have that. But we still rehearsing the righteous acts. All right. So go to verse 7. Said, and they shall take the blood and strike it on the two side posts and on the upper door posts of the houses wherein they shall eat it. All right. So I'm going to show you another picture right quick. This is an illustration that you can see where they mark the blood on the top of the door and on the side post of the door. That's where the blood would be. Let's keep reading. Let me get that off the screen. That's all right. Verse 8, and they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. See that? Eat the flesh at that night, roast with fire. It didn't say boil it. It didn't say bake it. It said roast it. That means throw it on the grill. And unleavened bread. Unleavened bread, meaning bread without leavening agents, baking soda and whatnot. And with bitter herbs shall they eat it. All right. Let me see where else I wanted to go with that. All right, well, let's go into this meal a little bit. So, letting you know once again, it said you got to roast it with fire. That means you ain't eating lamb burgers. That ain't mean you ain't eating lamb spaghetti bake. You ain't eating barbecue lamb. I mean, with the barbecue sauce on it. Nah, you're not doing that. Just some salt on it. That's it. We'll get into that as well. But you roast it with fire. You're not boiling it. You're not what else? Baking it. You're not doing that. You roasting it with fire and unleavened bread. And it said with bitter herbs. Let's get some of these bitter herbs. This is a website you can go to. Herbal Basics, Bitters 101. Bitter herbs are some of the most, let me blow it up a little bit. Just showing you some of the benefits of using, or the reason why the Lord commanded us to use bitter herbs to eat with the lamb. The lamb actually represents something, and so do the bitter herbs. But eating the bitter herbs has a benefit to you. All right. Bitter herbs are some of the most beloved by herbalists and fundamental to the gut health. When you taste the challenging flavor of bitterness, you strengthen your digestive response and enhance the secretion of the body's natural digestive juices, which in turn optimizes digestive function. This is crucial, as the old herbal saying goes, it's not just about what you eat, but rather what you assimilate. As humans, as people, we evolved consuming a vast amount of wild plants like roots and berries, most of which are rich in bitter flavor. With the birth of modern agriculture and the convenience of eating processed foods, the bitter taste was stripped away in exchange for more pleasurable flavors, sweet and salty. All right, I'm gonna just skip down a little bit. Bitter herbs have a long history of use for soothing occasional gas and bloating, relieving nausea and heartburn, encouraging digestive secretions, and promoting gentle detox. All right. They also support liver function. The key to herbal medicine is understanding the nuance of each herb, so you know which remedy to reach for based on specific needs. Below is a list of a few notable bitter herbs, their benefits, and where to find them. All right. So you got dandelion. Dandelion is a good bit of herb to use. It also has many healing benefits. All right. Let me see if I can skip through that and find something right quick. Dandelion's role as a bitter herb and a diuretic make it a fantastic herb for general health, daily detox, and well-being. All right. You can make teas out of it. You can use a salad. Use it for a salad. You got burdock. Is another detox. Shishandra, chamomile, artichoke, vegetarian, ginger, and many others. You got your romaine, you got your kale, but you got plenty of bitter herbs that you can use to eat with the lamb. So let's go back to Exodus. It says, and they shall eat the flesh in that night. At that night, keep that in mind. You got to eat that at night. We'll get into that as well as we read on. You got to roast it with fire, so throw that on the grill. You know what I'm saying? Or just roast it with fire. And the unleavened bread, and that's bread like I brought out earlier. Matter of fact, let me show you something else right quick. Let me go to the A.O.I website, show you something that can help you out. Go to the High Holy Day tab. On there, we have a Passover leavening agent list that you can look into. You can print out. It says during the, let me blow it up a little bit. The leveling agent list, and it's a list that actually points out a few things that lets you know what concern or have yeast or leveling agents in it and things that might be confused with it. We'll go back over that in a little bit when we get to it. But you can go to the A.O.I website, go to the High Holy Day tab, and then go to the leveling agent on there. And you can print that off. Put that on there for our nation's benefit. All right. So unleavened bread is also something that there's many recipes that you can find. We also got videos on the website showing you how to make unleavened bread. All right. So you using, what is the meal for Passover? You got lamb roasted over fire, unleavened bread, bitter herbs, and what else? You got wine. We'll get to that in a minute as well. But let's read on. Verse 9, it says, eat not of it raw, nor sodden at all with water. So it say don't eat it raw, don't boil it with water, don't cook it with water, but roast with fire, his head with his leg, and with the pureness thereof. So with everything intact, except for the, you know what I'm saying, the guts and whatnot. You take those things out if we were able to have those things. You keep the head, the legs, everything intact, but you would remove, you know, the lungs and the intestines and all that. That's what you will remove, but you keep everything intact. 10, verse 10, and ye shall let nothing of it remain unto the morning, and that which remaineth of it unto the morning ye shall burn with fire. So that's letting you know what? On the Passover, after we eat that night, anything that remains over the morning of the lamb is supposed to be burnt with fire. Burnt with fire. Burn it up. All right. Verse 11, and thus shall ye eat, with your loins girded, meaning with clothes on, your shoes on your feet. Why? Because when we were in Egypt, we were getting ready to leave, give it up out of there. So the Lord wanted us to eat and be ready to move. And it said, and your staff in your hand. For the men, have your staff in hand, and ye shall eat it in haste, meaning quickly, fast, in a hurry. It is the Lord's Passover. It don't say you got to stand up and eat it. It's saying with clothes on, shoes on your feet, and staff in hand, and you got to eat it quickly. All right. Verse 12, for I will pass through the land of Egypt this night and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. And against all the gods of Egypt, I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. letting you know why these things were being done, because the Lord was getting ready to execute judgment on our oppressors. At that particular time, it was Egypt. Let's read on. Verse 13, and the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you. And the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. You see that? That's a requirement. That's a commandment that our people had to do in order to be what? Protected. You see that? Just like us keeping the commandments today. Keeping the commandments is another prerequisite for us to be protected. When we fail to keep the commandment, that's when we end up in chaos, end up getting jammed up by the other nations. We have to understand these things. The blood of who? Yahweh. At this particular time, it was actually the lamb. Think about that. Let's read on. Verse 14. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial. We read this earlier. And ye shall keep it for a feast to the Lord throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast by ordinance forever. What's some of the ordinances? Which you have to eat, meaning roasting the lamb over fire with bitter herbs, with unleavened bread, keeping it on the 14th day of eating. You know, those are ordinances. Read on. Verse 15. 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. That's why they call it Feast of Unleavened Bread, because you have to eat unleavened bread for 7 days. Not that you have to eat it all day, every day for 7 days, but eat a piece of it once a day. 7 days you got to eat that unleavened bread. And it has a deeper meaning than what it just reads at face value, because that unleavened bread represents you a pure form of being righteous. The leaven actually represents sin. So during the Passover, the Lord wants you to be righteous. That's why he say eat unleavened bread. But we'll read on. Even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. See that? Whoever eating leaven got it in their household, they're going to be cut off from Israel. Cut off. They might be put to death, cut off from a congregation, cut off from the Lord, from your understanding as to you being an Israelite, cut off from this truth. It's whatever the Lord decides. But we pray and hope that our brothers and sisters take this lesson, this class serious. They taking notes so that they can put it in their mind, so they can go back and study, so that they can do the things that's required as an Israelite, you know, to be delivered once again. Rehearsing the righteous acts. Reading on. Verse 16. And in the first day there shall be a holy convocation. And in the 7th day there shall be a holy convocation to you. No manner of work shall be done in them, save, or meaning except that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. All right. So that's letting you know that on the first day of the Passover and at the last day of Passover, it's a week-long celebration. For those who don't know, Passover is a week-long celebration. All right. So at the beginning of Passover, it's supposed to be a holy convocation. What does that word mean? Let's look it up right quick. Convocation. Definition. A large formal assembly of people. You see that? That means congregate, come together. People are supposed to come together on this feast day. That's what it's saying right there. Holy convocation is a holy gathering of our people, the Israelites. So we're supposed to have a holy gathering at the beginning of Passover and at the end of Passover. And no manner of work shall be done in them in those days. The first day and the last day, no work to be done, except that which every man must eat, meaning cooking. That only may be done of you. It ain't no cooking. It ain't no going to spend your money up, go to the gas station, fill up the car. Nah, you do all those things prior to the first day of Passover. You do it before the last day of Passover. Understand that. When you out there spending your money, you breaking the Sabbath, you breaking the Passover. You out cutting the grass, going to the gym on the day of Passover, you breaking it. You know what I'm saying? Understand that. So the Lord is saying, keep these feast days just like a Sabbath. And he letting you know, making it plain to you, no manner of work shall be done in them, save that which of every man must eat, the only may be done of you. All right, verse 17. And ye shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, or Passover. For in this self same day have I brought your armies, you see that, armies, out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall ye observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever. Not whenever we choose, but it's an ordinance to celebrate the Passover every year, annually. Understand that, Israel. In the first month, Abib or Nisan, on the 14th day of the month at even, ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 1 and 20th day of the month at even. So 7 days later would be the 21st. If we started Passover on the 14th day, 7 days later would be the 21st day after the beginning of Passover, or 21 days after, or in the month of Abib or Nisan. It's a 7-day feast. Understand that. And you have to have a holy convocation, a holy gathering at the beginning of that week and at the end of that week. All right, let's read on. 7 days shall there be no leaven. That's what I was showing you with this list. Leavening agents. No leaven in your house. No yeast, baker's yeast. Let me blow it up a little more. Active dry yeast, baking powder, baking soda, cream of tartar, sourdough starter, ammonium carbonate, ammonium bicarbonate. I'm not about to go through all of these, but you got different toothpaste, foods that your pets eat. You know what I'm saying? You got to check out and look for those things. Leveling agents and products. This is not all of it, but it's a good list to help you out. You know, these are some of the products below that are often confused as leavening. Puff cereals, brewer's yeast, yeast extract, soda, egg whites, you know, sodium carcinite, calcium carbonate. So you got different things on this list that you can print out to help you out by removing any leavening from your house. Also, you want to go and look in the cracks and crevices. You want to clean your house out, clean in between your couches, your toaster, you know, in your car, clean. That's where you get the spring cleaning at to get rid of that leavening. That's where they get that from. So you want to scour your house, clean it up, remove the leaven out the house. You want to check the nooks and crannies, the cracks and crevices, you know what I'm saying, to find this leavening, because it's just us doing that is just like us trying to remove sin out of our lives. Examining ourselves daily to remove the things that plague us. Because when you read, let me go to, well, I don't want to do that right now. Let's hit it. Let's go to 1 Corinthians right quick. 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 8. And it reads, therefore, let us keep the feast, not with old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. So when we were reading in Exodus how the Lord don't want us to have leaven in our houses, in our dwelling places. Why? Because it represents sin, malice and wickedness. We want to remove those things from our spirits, and anything that could possibly bring that up or flare that spirit up. We want to remove those things out of our household. But with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth, we want to get rid of the wickedness in our minds and in our spirits and replace it with the bread of sincerity and truth, righteousness. That's what the week of Passover is all about. Understand that. But we're going to go back to Exodus chapter 12. Where we was at? All right. Exodus 12 and 20. Ye shall eat nothing leavened, in all your habitations shall ye eat unleavened bread. Did I skip over anything? I'm gonna read 19 again. Exodus chapter 20, verse 12, verse 19. Excuse me. 7 days there shall be there no leaven found in your houses, Salaki. But whosoever eateth that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. Now, when you read stranger right though, that's not going into the other nations. That's talking about our brothers and sisters of our own nation. But we all, when we were in Israel, we had well, it's 12 tribes of the nation of Israel, but we all had our own allotment of land. So you might have Ephraim, he might be journeying, he end up in Judah. Or Reuben end up in Manasseh. But they keeping Passover. So if those strangers who would be a stranger at that time because he in somebody else's land, but we still are the same people, whether he be a stranger or born in the land, he cannot eat leavened bread in your house or in your dwelling place. Verse 20, ye shall eat nothing leavened, in all your habitations shall ye eat unleavened bread. So in all of our household, we supposed to be eating unleavened bread. And during that week, there's constant self-examination, because throughout that week, you'll be tempted when you're not at the beginning of the holy convocation or at the end gathering with your brothers and sisters. It might be the second day. You might be at work talking about, I'm getting ready to go get some breakfast or lunch. You in there eating a hamburger. You got to pay attention to the things that you eating or around throughout that whole week. You might make the mistake of slipping up and getting some cookies or something. Getting something that got leavening in it. You have to pay attention to everything that you do during that week. And to be honest, that's one of the healthiest weeks during the year. We stop eating the things that have leaven and yeast and things of that nature in it. So your liquors, your beers, you're putting that to the side because they got the yeast in it. All right. You're putting down the breads because they got yeast in it. They got the leavening agents in it, the cookies, the sweets. That's why the Lord said, eat the unleavened bread. You can be fancy with it. You know what I'm saying? You got your, what is it? Your peach unleavened bread, peach cobbler. You got the sisters be doing it up. You got your strawberry unleavened bread. You got your pumpkin unleavened breads, your coffee cake unleavened bread. It's various recipes out there, that you can go to help you out during that week. But the Lord said he don't want us indulging or eating any leavening. He don't even want it in our houses. That's why he tell us to get it out. He don't want it in our cars. He don't want it nowhere in our vicinity. That's why we got to get rid of it slowly but surely. All right. While it's winding down the Passover, start looking through your house, start cleaning it out, getting rid of that leaven that's in there. Start doing a diligent search. You don't want that in your household. That's just like having sin in your spirit. You got to constantly examine and search out your spirit in your household, your temple, your tabernacle. All right. Reading on. Let's go to verse 21. Then Moses called for all the elders of Israel, not all people, and said unto them, draw out and take you a lamb according to your families and kill the Passover. So the lamb will be considered what? The Passover. All right. And you shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the two side posts with the blood that is in the basin. And none of you shall go out at the door of his house until the morning. So they were going to take some hyssop, dip it in that blood from the slain lamb that night. Once the blood would drain out of that lamb, they would take hyssop, dip it in there, and put it on the top of the door and on the sides that particular night. All right. And they would not go out that night. All right. That was when they were in Egypt. Now, being in this captivity, we know that we can't just come out and striking blood everywhere around our doors. They'll call the police on us just for bringing a box in our own house, getting in our own car. They out looking in the window to see what we doing. We bringing our own boxes in our house. Karen want to see your ID. She want to make sure you live there. You know what I'm saying? But the Lord already knew these things. So we rehearsing the righteous act. One thing you can do to substitute that, I'm not telling you to break the commandment. What I'm saying is to substitute that, to reenact that, to rehearse that righteous act. Hey, put some red tape over the door, on the side of the door, to commemorate that. You still doing the things that's required, having a memorial. But we know when we start doing these things, and especially we don't even have the lamb to do these things with, we getting our lamb out the grocery store, and what we look like taking that blood, we don't know what actually happened with that lamb. We don't know if it's been blemished or not. These are the things that we have to pray to the Lord for forgiveness and having mercy on us as a nation while we celebrate the feast days. We getting it out the grocery store. And we all know how it's going with these meats and things in these grocery stores. So we got to take heed to these things and pray to the Lord for constant mercy and forgiveness, but that he understands what we are striving to do, rehearsing the righteous acts. But reading on verse 23, it said, "For the Lord will pass through to smite the Egyptians. And when he seeth the blood upon the lintel and on the two side posts, the Lord will pass over the door and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you." All right. "And ye shall observe this thing in an ordinance to thee and to thy sons forever." This is a real memorial where you're supposed to consistently, constantly, year in and year out, explain to your children why you keep the Passover, not why you celebrating Christmas, why you celebrating Thanksgiving. Oh, it's for the family. Nah, the hell with that. That don't mean nothing. The Lord says, celebrate my deliverance that I have delivered you from, for an ordinance that you're going to tell to your children year in and year out, regardless of how they feel, if they want to hear it or not. It's your job to teach them, to make them understand how important it is to be obedient to the Lord. Verse 25, "And it shall come to pass when ye be come to the land which the Lord will give you, according as he has promised, that ye shall keep this service." So they weren't even in the land of Israel at the time. Understand that. Verse 26, "And it shall come to pass when your children shall say unto you, What mean ye by this service?" So they're asking you, why are we doing this? "That ye say, It is the sacrifice of the Lord's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he smote the Egyptians and delivered our houses, and the people bowed their head in worship." It's simple. All right. So let's jump down to verse 39 right quick. All right. And it says, "And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough which they brought forth out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Egypt and could not tarry. Neither had they prepared for themselves any victual." Victuals is another word for food. So this is going into also why they had unleavened bread or cakes at that time, because they was in a rush. They baked unleavened cakes of the dough which they brought forth out of Egypt. It was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Egypt. That's when Pharaoh said, "Get your people and get on. Get the hell out of here." Because the Lord has smitten his firstborn son, killed him. So they thrust us out of Egypt. They rushed us out of there because the Lord was plaguing them day in and day out. All right. Because they were thrust out of Egypt and could not tarry, couldn't wait. They couldn't wait on something to be baked, or the leavening or the baking soda to be added to it. They were thrust out of there. Neither had they prepared for themselves any victuals, any food. So they took them unleavened bread cakes with them for something to eat. All right. So we understand that we eat the lamb roasted over fire. We eat the bitter herbs. We eat unleavened bread. And we're going to drink wine as well. Let's go to the New Testament to prove that as well. And in the Old, but we're going to start in the New. Let's go to the book of Luke. Let's go to the book of Luke right quick. Chapter 22. We're going to start at verse 1. "Now the feast of unleavened bread drew nigh, which is called the Passover." It breaks it down clean, plain right there. This is in the New Testament. So they were keeping the feast of Passover. Everybody run around saying we Christians, but they ain't keeping the Passover. That makes no sense. Yahushua kept, Christ kept the Passover, kept the feast days. So why, if we Christians, why are we not keeping the feast days? Why are we out keeping Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, Valentine's Day, President's Day, Donut Day? Why are we doing all this? Lent, Mardi Gras. We keeping everything but what's required of us as a nation. Understand that. The foolishness of the mindset of our people, it has to change. And if the Lord woke you up, he woke you up for a reason, to get this knowledge so you can do more and do better. All right. Let's go. Let's read Luke chapter 22, verse 1. Now the feast of unleavened bread drew nigh, which is called the Passover. And the chief priests and scribes sought how they might kill him, for they feared the people. So the people that was in charge, they were plotting and scheming on how to kill Christ or Yahushua. Then into Satan, into Judas, surnamed Iscariot, being of the number of the 12. So we all know this story, and we should. But Judas Iscariot was the one who betrayed Christ to the high priest. And he went his way. And notice that it said, and Satan entered into Judas. So Satan is a spirit. He jumped into this man, jumped on his spirit. And he went his way and communed with the chief priests and captains, how he might betray him unto them. And they were glad and coveted it to give him money. So they was happy about that. And now they're making deals and agreements on how to give him money for doing this. And he promised and saw opportunity to betray him unto them in the absence of the multitude. Then came the day of unleavened bread, when the Passover must be killed. All right. So we on the day when the Passover was supposed to be killed. This would be the 14th day. And he sent Peter and John, saying, go and prepare us the Passover that we may eat. So this is Christ giving commandment to Peter and John. All right. And they said unto him, where wilt thou that we prepare? And he said unto them, behold, when ye are entered into the city, there shall a man meet you, bearing a pitcher of water. Follow him into the house where he entereth in. And ye shall say unto the good man of the house, the master saith unto thee, where is the guest chamber, where I shall eat the Passover with my disciples? And he shall show you a large upper room furnished. There make ready. And they went and found as he had said unto them, and they made ready the Passover. And when the hour was come, he sat down, and the 12 apostles with him. And he said unto them, with desire, I have desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. So he's saying, I want to eat this with you before I suffer. For I say unto you, I will not any more eat thereof until it be fulfilled in the kingdom of God. So he was letting them know, I'm not going to eat this Passover. All right. Until we in the kingdom. And he took the cup and gave thanks and said, take this and divide it among yourselves. For I say unto you, I will not drink of the fruit of the vine. What comes from the vine? What fruit? The grape. What do they make wine from? Grapes. Until the kingdom of God shall come. So he's saying, I'm not going to drink the wine. And he took bread and gave thanks and brake it and gave it unto them, saying, this is my body, which is given for you. This do in remembrance of me. What day was this taking place on? The Passover. Think about this. This is what they say in the world, communion. But this was going on the Passover. Take note of that. He took bread and gave thanks and brake it and gave unto them, saying, this is my body, which is given for you. This do in remembrance of me. Likewise also the cup after supper, saying, this cup is the New Testament in my blood, which is shed for you. Letting you know it's for the wine. That's what the wine represents, his blood being shed for us. You see that? That's what I wanted to bring out to you right quick. All right. Going into the wine. It's also in the Old Testament as well. Let's go all the way back to Genesis. Then you know why we drink the wine for Passover. Go to Genesis chapter 49. Why did I put on 29? Let's go to Genesis chapter 49. And we're going to go to verse 12. And it reads, his eyes shall be red with wine and his teeth white with milk. So Moses was actually prescribing or describing Christ with red eyes as wine. Letting you know how symbolic that wine is. The red wine. It represents the Lamb. That's why John the Baptist said, behold, the Lamb of God. You see that? The Lamb of God, the Passover is the lamb being killed. That's why we had a lamb to eat on Passover. That's why Christ said, take this, when he was talking about the body is shed. Let's go back to that. Let's go back to that. Where is it? All right. And he took bread and gave it and gave thanks and brake it and gave unto them, saying, this is my body, which is given for you. This do in remembrance of me. See that? That's what that lamb represents. And that unleavened bread represents. The lamb is his body. That bread is a body without sin. That unleavened bread. Without sin. That's what that unleavened bread represents. But let's go to Leviticus right quick. Leviticus chapter 23 to give you more understanding, more knowledge on the ordinances concerning Passover. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 23 and we're going to start at 1 and read to 8. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel and say unto them concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest, our holy convocation. So on the seventh day of the week, which is Saturday, it's supposed to be a day of rest and a holy convocation. We're supposed to come together. You shall do no work therein, no work therein on the Sabbath. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. All right. These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. In the 14th day of the first month at even in the Lord's Passover. So we're talking about Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto the Lord. 7 days shall ye must eat unleavened bread. So it's letting you know, gonna eat unleavened bread for 7 days. In the first day ye shall have a holy convocation, a holy gathering. Ye shall do no servile work therein, except to cook. But ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord 7 days. In the 7th day is a holy convocation. Ye shall do no work therein. So we understand that we don't do sacrifices no more, due to the fact that the Lord said the blood of bulls, it don't satisfy him. Why? Because our people didn't have any remorse. They go off and do something, steal, whatever. If it wasn't something that would put them to death, they would just go kill an animal, and then that same spirit or that same thought would keep popping up in their head, and they would just keep making offerings. So that was the whole point of A.O.I coming and dying for our sin, because the blood of bulls and goats and bullocks did not please the Lord. All right. But let's go through some of the do's and don'ts. Let's go to Exodus chapter 13, verse 7 right quick. Trying to move through it as fast as I can, but I don't want to leave anything unturned. Let's go to Exodus chapter 13, verse 7, and it reads, unleavened bread shall be eaten 7 days, and there shall no leavened bread be seen with thee. Neither shall there be leaven seen with thee in all thy quarters. So that means everything around you, in your household area, in your cars, your garages, don't have it nowhere. Get that leavened bread out of there. Unleavened bread shall be eaten 7 days, and there shall no leavened bread be seen with thee. So you gotta get them crackers out the way. Check your kids' cereal. You gotta check them toasters, check under them couches, check your dog food, your pet food. You know what I'm saying? You gotta look through everything to make sure you ain't got no leavening agents in it, no leaven. All right. And don't have it nowhere on your land. Nowhere. All right, verse 8. And thou shalt show thy son. Is that what I want? Now, that's all I wanted on that. All right. From there, let's go to Numbers chapter 6. Let's go to the book of Numbers chapter 9, verse 6. Excuse me. Book of Numbers chapter 9, verse 6. And it reads. And this is actually going into if you're unclean, when the Passover actually comes about. All right. Numbers chapter 9, verse 6. And there were certain men who were defiled by the dead body of a man, that they could not keep the Passover on that day. And they came before Moses and before Aaron on that day. And those men said unto him, we are defiled by the dead body of a man. Wherefore are we kept back, that we may not offer an offering of the Lord in its appointed season among the children of Israel. So these men was unclean. You don't want to come to the feast days being unclean, whether being on your cycle or having some type of sickness or illness. You don't, or touching a dead body, you will be defiled or considered unclean. So you don't want to be amongst your brothers and sisters, especially being amongst the Lord, being unclean. All right, verse 8. And Moses said unto them, stand still, and I will hear what the Lord will command concerning you. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, if any man of you or of your posterity shall be unclean by reason of a dead body, or be in a journey afar off, you see that, or a journey afar off, yet he shall keep the Passover unto the Lord. The 14th day of the second month at even, they shall keep it and eat of it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. So you would take you, you will keep the Passover the second month. If you were unclean during the first month when Passover actually came about, you would celebrate it the very next month on the 14th day and go through the same process. The same process. You wouldn't have no leaven in your house during that week. You would eat the lamb roasted over fire with unleavened bread, with bitter herbs, and with wine. Nothing else. No biscuits, no cheesecake for dessert. You know what I'm saying? No ice cream. No damn corn. Your cornbread. Nah, you eat exactly what the Lord told us to eat as a nation of people. He told us specifically, and he repeated it over and over and over again. Now, so we can go out there and eat and do what we want to do. That's why we got to search the scriptures daily. We got to study to show ourselves approved. We got to remove the leaven out of our houses. We can't have leaven in our houses. We got to eat unleavened bread 7 days. We got to have a holy convocation on the first and the last day of the week of Passover. We had to eat the bitter herbs. You got to drink the red wine on the first night. What else? Let me read on. Verse 11. Numbers chapter 9, verse 11. The 14th day of the second month at even, they shall keep it and eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. They shall leave none of it until the morning, nor break any bone of it. According to all the ordinances of the Passover, they shall keep it. You see that? So don't break your bones either. That's another ordinance to understand. When eating the Passover lamb, don't break the bones. I will go into it a little deeper, but time is running out. And the purpose would be because Christ was on the scene and we already know he was our Passover, the Lamb of God. He didn't have any broken bones when he was offered up. So the Passover would represent him in the future, where we did not break the bones. It was a specific reason why the Lord wrote it that way. Just like you can read in Isaiah, he declared the ending from the beginning. He already knew what was going to happen on down the road. We just don't. But he told us not to break the bones of the Passover. All right. But we just learned by reading the Numbers that if you are defiled or unclean when it comes time for Passover, you will follow the ordinance and keep the Passover the very following month, the next month, the second month. And you will keep, as we already know, what we're supposed to be doing. Keep the ordinances. Eating lamb that's roasted over fire, eating the unleavened bread for 7 days, eating the bitter herbs, drinking the wine on that first day. Let me see what else. No leaven in your households. No work on the first or the last day, except to cook. No cooking. No cleaning. No going to work. So you got plenty of time, brothers and sisters. A whole year in advance to plan and prep to make sure that you don't work on that day, on those days. Passover is something serious to be considered, to be followed. The Lord said if we don't keep these feast days, especially the Passover, He's going to cut us off. We don't want to be cut off. We want to continue to grow and build as a nation of people so that we can make it to the kingdom. But let's go back to Exodus right quick. I think this is the last verse I wanted to go into. Let's go back to Exodus chapter 12. We're going to go to verse 43. And it reads, and the Lord said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof, meaning of the other nations. But every man's servant that is brought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. A foreigner and an hired servant shall not eat thereof. In one house shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth out of the flesh abroad out of the house, neither shall ye break a bone thereof. Once again, making reference not to break bones or to carry that food out of the house or try to save it and eat it another day, trying to take it to work with you the next day. The Lord ain't dealing with that. You get together, you eat good, with your brothers and sisters. You come together because this is a once a year type memorial. You don't come in there with your clothes like you just got off work. You come in there clean because you coming before the Lord to celebrate His Passover. This is when our brothers and sisters come together and joyfulness, rejoicing. You dress up, you get clean for this celebration. When you was in the world, you was going on them dates and whatnot with the wickedness of this world. You was going to the club, you was out there casket shop. So when the feast days come around, make sure you get even more clean. You know what I'm saying? You show up for the Lord, for your brothers and sisters. You don't come in there with your work clothes on. You don't come in there like you don't give a damn. You come in there to have a good time, to represent the Lord, to be amongst brethren, a holy convocation. This is the time where you can show up and show out. Don't take these things lightly. It's an honor for you to be able to celebrate the feast days. It's an honor. Think about all the wickedness that you was participating in when you was in the world. You didn't go to your family or your folks' house with any old get up on when you went over there for Christmas. When you was taking your date out on Valentine's Day. When you was trying to impress that special someone. You didn't just show up in whatever the hell you had or wanted. You made sure you was decked out. So likewise, if not more, 10 times more when we coming before the Lord being repentant Israelites. You know what I'm saying? You got a whole year in advance to make plans to do these things. And the Lord ain't telling you to come in there with a $400 outfit on. He ain't telling you to do that, but come clean before the Lord. Sanctify yourself. Clean yourself up. Make yourself look presentable. Come ready to eat that lamb that been on the grill, roasted over fire. It ain't been in the oven baking. It ain't being boiled on top. You ain't eating lamb spaghetti or lamb burgers, lamb bacon. No, we ain't doing all that. That ain't what the Lord asked for. Come ready to eat that unleavened bread that the sister's gonna throw down with. that sweet unleavened bread at that, you know. But Lord willing, you brothers and sisters learn something tonight by watching this video. You understand truly what the Passover is, what it represents. Lord willing, you took notes, you know. And for those who don't know, Passover is coming up next month. For A.O.I, we'll be celebrating our Passover on April the 8th, which is the 14th day at even. April the 8th at even. 14th day of the first month. Remember, it's a week-long celebration. So I pray and hope you brothers and sisters learn something. You know, I'm your brother Ananias for A.O.I, the Awakening of Israel. I'm going to give all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai for the abundance of all things. And this has been another installment on Keep the Feast. What is the Passover and how is it kept? But until next time, I say shalom, shalom, peace and greetings to you all, and I'm out.